Good morning, or should I say good evening when you are. This is Alistair at FaithWorks, and just wanted to give you a little bit of an update around Hope into Action, maybe to give you some information that maybe help you. It's lovely to hear that you're considering getting involved with the Hope into Action projects that we have here locally. So maybe I could just explain a little bit of how it works. Forgive me if this is very familiar to some of you, but maybe helpful to start from the beginning. So Hope into Action is a national charity, a national Christian charity that has worked with over 100 churches and local Christian organisations to get houses in place which will house those who are not necessarily immediately on the street, but are making their way off the street. And those houses can have three individuals, three male or three female individuals. It could have a family, it could have a refugee family. There's various forms that they take. And the way that it works is that locally within this area, FaithWorks is like the franchise holder for Hope into Action. So we have a link with Hope into Action, an agreement with them, and we work locally here with churches and with investors to try and get houses in place. We have 2 houses in place already, one with 3 men in, one with a family in, and a third house is almost in place in North Bournemouth. So the sort of the connecting bits are there's 3. There is a set of investors who buy the house, and they work together, and I'll come back to that. They work together. It could be one individual, or if they can pay the whole thing, it could be a series of individuals. There's even one house up north which has 21 investors who bought the house together. So there's investors. There's then a local church, what we call community and friendship team. And that's really important because that's, if you like, the soft support that the individuals within the house get. So that could include coming alongside for just to take people out for a coffee or have a meal. Some groups have celebrated people's birthdays, to remember that. The community and friendship team are also responsible for furnishing the house, making sure that the beds are in place and the curtains and sometimes a bit of decoration. That's sometimes good to do with the tenants themselves. But they can take on that soft support, and often it's a great opportunity to link people into other activities, maybe church activities, but maybe other activities that people go to. Somebody might like going fishing, and so actually a couple of the church team might want to go fishing with somebody. So there's that whole side of the community and friendship team. So you've got the investors who buy the house. Investors then work with FaithWorks. So we, if you like, lease the house off the investors, and then we have a tenancy worker who we call our empowerment worker, called Joe, who some of you may have met, and Joe works with the community and friendship team to support the people who are in the house. So it's like a triangle of people involved. So specifically around the investment side of it, let's say you have a house of the last house you bought was about £350,000. So, because houses are quite expensive here. The useful thing, of course, being linked with Hope into Action is there's lots of experience. So they give us a very clear understanding of the type of house that we should be looking for. So it shouldn't be in the most expensive areas. It shouldn't be in the poorest areas. It ideally should not be within a cul-de-sac. If you're having a house for individuals, then what you want is 3 good size rooms, and they suggest the size of rooms. So there's lots of help to understand the house we should be buying. So obviously, though a house may cost £350,000, you've got to take into account that there are solicitors' fees, survey fees, and refurbishment costs. There may be some refurbishment costs, so that the investors take the cost of, sorry, I've got a friendly neighbourhood motorcycle outside. The investors take the cost of refurbishing, so that might be if there's a serious thing with windows needed or putting a new door on or things like that. There's again lots and lots of help to go through that. So there's the cost of the house, the legal costs, the refurbishment costs, and then of course the stamp duty. Now, one of the good things about being a church is that you don't have to pay any stamp duty. So if this was if you like, the church is able to afford to buy one house, there would be no stamp duty involved, which would be great. Clearly, if it's a combination of church and investors, individual investors, then the rest of the investors would have to take the stamp duty. So all of those costs are then taken in. And there are two ways of doing it. Either if there are lead investors who want to really take a way forward, then they can do all the work of trying to find the house with us and to get all the details sorted, or we can do a lot of that for the group of investors, and we ask them to give a bit of money towards that. One of the other things to bear in mind is that when we start the journey, the investors need to sign a declaration of trust, because if there's more than a couple of investors, it's really helpful to have two who lead and make the decisions with us, rather than trying to incorporate 8, 10, 12 people into every decision. Little points. We can go through all of those points if that's something you decide to do. So from a point of view of giving money, there will be it will go into a central into a total fund, and that fund will be used to pay for the house. And then every 3 months, once the lease is signed with ourselves, we would pay the percentage back. And each year there's 2% that goes back to each of the investors of the stake that they put in. So if you put in £10,000, then each year you would take 2% of that £10,000, which is, by my maths, I think £200. So £200 would come back each year of the 5 years. So it's a 5-year lease. At the end of 5 years, then there is an option for all of the investors to say, yes, we're good, we want to keep going, and obviously the arrangement continues. If one of the investors wants to pull out, then we do our best to try and then find somebody to replace them in the house. And clearly, if all the investors decide to say no, we've had it, we're all good, we're laying this down, then the lease ends, the house is sold, and the investors split the proceeds according to the percentages that they put in to start with. So just to recap, there's investors who buy the house. They lease it to us for 5 years, 2% return per year back to the investors, option at 5 years to come out. And we then work, as Faith works, we then work to make sure the house is ready, help get it ready. We then identify who are the people who want to come in. Once we've all agreed, is it going to be a family? Is it going to be 3 females? Is it going to be 3 men, or refugee family, or whatever? And then we train up, or we get our friends in Hope into Action to train up a church team to provide that sort of soft support side to work alongside the individuals who are there. So I hope that gives you most of the information you need. There's some really helpful stuff if you want to know more on the Hope into Action website. If you go into there and look for investors, there's some really helpful FAQs. And it also gives you a bit more of the background of what you need. And we'd be delighted to talk with you further if that would be helpful as well. Thank you so much for considering this, and do pray. Our vision is that we see maybe 10, 20 houses, why not, across the conurbation, with churches supporting each one. What a change that would be to the situation. When you hear the council saying to me last week that there are 150 people in temporary accommodation, and that's bed and breakfast type stuff, and there are at least 30 families included in that. And those families, the family we moved into the house in Poole, the council were just overjoyed at seeing that family being able to get off their register, get off being in bed and breakfast, and actually find a home of their own. And now that family is engaging with the local church, and in that particular case, they're going along to church. But in the other house we've got, the people just are really finding the local support to be so important. So if you could see your way to invest and to be the church support team there, church support team, I should have said, we need people who love being alongside people. We need people who love prayer, to be praying for the house, and we need people who love practical stuff, because actually doing the garden with the tenants, or decorating, or sorting out little problems is equally needed. Hope that gives you a good overview. Have a good meeting. God bless you, and hope to talk with you very soon. Thank you.